Hey folks, it's been a minute and I wanted to give everybody a little life update of just some lore and some drama that's been going on in my life that I finally kind of got a handle of. um, I got a new place and I'm honestly might just be done with roommates for good. The price of rent in the housing market is still ridiculous. It kind of quieted down a little bit, and I found a really good deal. And I was going to look for another roommate, but I just am kind of sick of the drama that happens from that because sometimes these living situations they start off really really great, and then it's a ticking time bomb of it's going to turn shitty at some point. And I was in this living situation with someone I thought I was pretty good friends with for 2 years. Now, I think that 2 years is definitely the point of maturity for any kind of like splitting rent situation. I don't think that most, instances last longer than that. But me being the frugal person that I am thinks it's ridiculous to not have a roommate, especially if you don't have your own house. And I was grinding. I was trying to save for like some property. I'm still, like halfway there ish for my goals for that. I'm not quite going to roll over and die because everything's so expensive and YOLO and all of that. I still believe that there's some hope. It might be like, you know, kind of like crusty covered hope and you have to like peel off the layers to find it, but it's still out there. And just the situation got very crummy very quickly, and it wasn't really anything to do with me or what I was doing. It was kind of projected onto me, but you know, the dude had like a lot of mental health issues and kind of didn't get help for them. Or and I know that dudes be out there like, oh, therapy's a sham and blah 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 and all that. Not necessarily that, like just some kind of help with something, like some kind of self-improvement instead of just, oh, I need to date such and such level person to affirm myself and I'm fine the way that I am. And it's like, that's great if that works and you put so much value on these relationships and not improving yourself. But when it doesn't work, everyone else is the problem, basically. And so what happened was, after I got kicked out of that hellish apartment situation and, you know, got rid of my first, college ex or whatever, I didn't think I had a lot of options. So I was in this house with like three other people. And I like most of the people and everything, but it was just very like strict rules, clean this, clean that. And then it was, I had to live in that situation with my landlord, which was not great. Like you can't have any fun or whatnot. Everything's scrutinized, and it was just kind of it was a drag. It kind of wore on me. So I bumped into one of my former coworkers that we used to work in this like really crappy job. But I didn't know that he was in the same city because we kind of like switched cities from like where we started versus where we were trying to move, kind of. Um, and so I recommended like, hey, I don't want all of these roommates. How about just one roommate? Let's go on an apartment together, basically. And I was clear with him about how I just wanted to be friends and everything was great for a couple of years until he found this girlfriend that he really liked, and it was going to be serious in his mind, I guess. I don't really know details about that because I wasn't really involved at all. So who knows, kind of. But that didn't end up working, and she broke up with him. And then all of a sudden, everything was like my fault, and, you know, I wasn't a good roommate anymore, and everything was scrutinized. And I would just like come home, and he would just start like screaming about some random shit that he had never cared about before, never expressed any concern about, and it would just went from 1 to 7 or 1 to 10, maybe not 10, but like it was like an elevated kind of thing. And I don't know, man. It was kind of nutty, and sometimes with these situations, it's just a ticking time bomb. And you know, the question is like, can men and women be friends and just friends? Like, I really want to think so, but at a certain point, if some person thinks that there's gonna be like a grand scheme to get something out of it, it's not gonna work. And I was aware of this, like I was aware that, you know, maybe it wouldn't work forever, but man, I was grinding. I was working 2 jobs, not just for fun, but for like stacking up the Benjamin Franklins, okay? And this thing just really like it put a wrench in my whole plan. It just like screwed me up, and I was really angry about it for a while. I was like, why are you messing up my life? I have been trying to be a good roommate to you, and you're just like grocery shopping for like an issue to make a big deal out of, just to make a big deal out of it. And then, so basically, I just stopped talking to him, you know, and I was like, all right, well, I'll just hang out in my room. There's not gonna be like, you know, living room, how is your day, blah, 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 roommate time. Like, it's not gonna happen. So I was just like hiding in my room, kind of, and just being completely antisocial. I started sewing, like, by hand. So I'm like sewing my own clothing now. So I'm a different person now, essentially, because of this, you know, diverting from whatever kind of conflict that was brewing that I just did not have the emotional energy for, and just didn't even like want to participate in, because there's no end to it. Like things like that, there's just no end to it. So I was like hiding in my room, and then he just flips a switch, and he's just like all of a sudden like super sweet and super nice and everything. And you know, we were like kind of in a band together or whatever. But after the whole screaming thing and like, oh, whoops, I had a bad day, and all of a sudden said like some really terrible things, which happens. But it was very like, I've been living with you for 2 years and you've never had a bad day until now, you know, like that's the gauge for that is kind of off, you know, like the whole thing is off. And, you know, as a friend, all I can do is really just recommend things. And, you know, I don't think that therapy is like this big golden token solve all thing. I think it really matters. Like, I think everybody should know some psychology, either it's it through like an actual licensed professional, or just like reading it on your own, or, you know, reading books and, you know, researching. Like, I think that that's great, but people don't want to put in the work. And there's just a mismatch, honestly. So then he's like nicer to me, so then I'm nicer to him, and then all of a sudden he jumps at the opportunity of, oh, she's nicer to me, so that means that, you know, she wants something more or whatever. But I mean, we had like a good thing going on for a while. Like, we always paid on time, and like, you know, tried to make the place nice for each other, blah, 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 or whatever. But, you know, as soon as his girlfriend dumped him, it was sort of like, oh, well, now she's the closest thing to a girlfriend, so it's all or nothing, basically. And I kind of got the message of, you know, friendship is bullshit, and if you're not going to date me, I'm going to be an asshole kind of vibe, which is unfortunate. And it's not really like a sob story to me anymore because it's happened so many times, like over my life, of people getting mad at me because I won't, give them a chance or whatever. And it's just that I shouldn't have to make excuses for like why I like what I like, because I know that about myself now. And I just don't really think there's much of a benefit to screwing up an arrangement like that, that's just sort of like a business roommate kind of arrangement, just for shits and giggles, just because, whatever, heat of the moment thing. Like, that's stupid. I mean, as far as living with like an actual romantic partner, that's different, but that's something that develops over time with the idea that that will be the end point, instead of just, oh, this is a mistake and this is super convenient. Like, has that ever happened before and worked? Probably. But the consequences, if it doesn't work, are just tremendous. So, I'm not into him. I made that clear. I thought I did make that clear. But, I guess sometimes I have like a sense of humor that doesn't really have guardrails, you know? Like, I do stand-up comedy and I might tell a dirty joke here and there sprinkled in. But knowing me means that that doesn't mean that I want to like screw the entire audience because I told that joke, like it's just like it's superficial. Like it's like friendly, and like that's my bombastic sense of humor. But for people that are hunting for this fictional reality that they want to be true, they're only going to cherry pick the things that help their case from that. And that was kind of the situation. And it got kind of hairy a couple times, and it got to the point where I'm like, shit, should I call the police on this guy? Like, should I kick him out? Like, I don't want to, that would be rude. I don't want to like kick someone out in the cold, but damn, like, how many no's do you need? Like, so I just knew I had to get out. And it got to the point where he said, oh, well, I'm moving out and I'm getting one bedroom and stuff. So I started looking at apartments thinking, well, I don't know anybody anymore in the area that I live who wants a roommate and who doesn't already like have kids or is married to a lesbian or something like that. And people might say like, oh, find a female roommate. And yeah, that's true. And I did try that a couple times, but there's this natural cycle, I guess, of people looking to rent rooms, and they go through that cycle and then they're on to the next thing, and I'm still like, hey, I still want to save money, like, where are you people? Gosh, yeah. So I heard from him like he's gonna move out and everything like that, but the apartment that we were at, it was just a little bit spendy to pay for on my own, and I didn't really know anybody to jump into that situation, right? And I sure as hell wasn't going to risk, renting that place by myself. So I started looking. And then I heard back that he wasn't looking to move out right away. It was, oh, maybe in a few months, in like May or June or something like that. And I'm thinking, wait a second, that's really weird, because we were in like a month-to-month lease. And if you're talking about moving out, it's like, I thought it was immediate. But why are you padding the time to do that? Like, what do you expect, like, me to, like, meet that time, like, and give you extra time to convince me of something, or, like, get something going? Like, what? It just felt kind of weird, like the timeline is very like, why are you dragging this out if you want to move out, sort of. So I was looking and I found a really, actually, I found a couple really cute attics for rent. It was like 1 bedroom level type places. Um, and so I essentially told him, like, hey, I want to move into this place. You should find someone else to live there because this new landlord wants a tenant in soon, like next month or immediately, like that immediate kind of, um, let's get this rolling. And it was weird because I was thinking in my mind at first about, oh, how do I convince them to give me more time to move in or whatever. But then a friend of mine was like, no, just like give him the ultimatum essentially. But that worked, and he found some other guy friend who wanted to live there and everything. And they just ran off happily ever after with the apartment that I liked. There's nothing wrong with it. It's fine, but now I'm on my own. And maybe that's a good thing because I've had time to think and just not be bothered by stupid crap, um, and just be kind of antisocial and just focus on my own thing. But in my previous apartment, there was like, oh, we had to have like the bougie fast internet and all of that, and he had it in his name and a contract. So when I moved into my new place, I was like, oh, that sucks. I don't have internet and I don't want to spend a lot on internet. So I just had like this dinky data plan through my phone for different things because I was just in such denial about, well, I mean, all moves are stressful, but this one was particularly stressful because I just did it all by myself. And I heard from some friends of mine like that said, "Oh, well, you should have asked us. We would have helped you." But well, it was kind of like ground zero of the nuclear bomb, and I was just trying to salvage what was in front of me. And my former roommate was really nice all of a sudden again, and, oh, can I help you move? Can I help you, haul this here or there? And I was very like, no, I got it. I don't want you to know where I live, essentially. And at that point, people will make fun of me for not having that much furniture, or just having like a Japanese floor mattress and sleeping on the floor. Like, oh, why are you such a savage? It's for situations like this. Because if I know that I'm gonna move in a year or a couple years, why have so much crap, honestly? So I did that, and it worked out pretty well. Eventually, and I finally got internet. And it's not, it's not the fastest internet, but I don't care because I don't need it. And so now I'm finally back. I feel like I'm finally back to where I was, essentially, before all of that got ruffled and disheveled and just kind of stupid, honestly. It's like a very stupid plot that keeps rising up, and it becomes like a part of my life again. Okay, yeah. Male roommates, not really a great option, but if I think about it, it was a better option than having 4 roommates, 3 or 4 roommates. So it worked for the time being, and now I'm just a bit more house poor, like so many people. And it is part of adulting, I guess, because it's been such a long time since I've had just a place of my own with no one else. But, it got kind of hairy near the end. It was like very sense of betrayal, basically, from my part, because hey, I guess this was just all an act, like, I guess this was all just some ploy to get with me, to get what you wanted, and it's sad. And I remember I was like 85-90% moved in, and I left my social security card and like some books and stuff because I was just so like focus on the essentials, focus on the essentials, and I left a few like little things like that. And he was trying to get me to come over and grab it or whatever. And it was 8 p.m. and he was saying, "Oh, this is the only time that you can come over and grab it for 2 weeks because I'm free now," and everything. Just trying to get me over there when he wants me there. And it was weird. So I just kind of like, I let him know, hey, you're a fake friend to me, and this whole situation sucks, and it didn't have to be. And I didn't even want to move out, but you were angry at me because I didn't want to be your girlfriend or hook up with you or whatever. So that's why I'm moving out. That's the only reason. So why don't you send all of that stuff to my mom so that you don't know where I live, basically. And you know what? He did. And I'm not talking to him anymore because I know it was all fake anyway. So, yeah, drama. But now my life is a lot less dramatic. So, I hope you enjoyed this story time to just hear what I've been up to. This is honestly just a plot that keeps happening in my life. I mean, I've got a couple female friends now, but I mean, like, how straight are they, though? It's fine. It's fine. So, yeah, I do definitely want to make more videos now that I won't be as disturbed by the presence of other humans. I have, like, I have a lot of space now. I don't know if I can really put up with another human living in my space again after this whole ordeal. It just might be it just might be the end. I might be done with it for good. Unless maybe I buy some property and I'm renting out my own extra rooms, or I buy a duplex or something like that. That's the only other situation that I would be in, like a roommate situation again. So that's great. Share your thoughts, even if they're weird. I'll just filter them out if it's unacceptable or whatever. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.